Hello, hello, friends. You are listening to the We Rise Together podcast. This is a weekly podcast where 5 women have come together to help you and encourage you to living the best life that you could possibly live. We base all of our life on certain areas, and that's what this podcast is about. We hold each other up, we encourage ourselves and others in all the areas of life that need to be loved and taken care of. Areas like your finances and your faith, your family and your friends. We don't leave out fun, and we definitely don't leave out what we do for a living. So I hope you will join us every single week right here on this podcast. If you want to see us live, you can find us on YouTube. If you want to get to know us better and be a part of our community, please go over to Facebook. You can find the link in the description of this video. We have a Facebook group called We Rise Together, and we would love to have you join us in that group. So join us every single week right here, and don't forget, life is better when we rise together. Okay. Hi, friends. How are you? Long time no talk, a week, I guess. So I'm so excited because we have our very first special guest on our podcast today. It's so exciting. Episode 9. We are talking about one of the F's that we follow with our Q Sciences family, and it is family. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Hannah. She is our gold leader here at Q Sciences, and I would not ever know Hannah if I didn't join Q Sciences. And so that's one thing that I'm really excited to share with you guys, is that all of these women on this podcast, I would not know if I didn't join Q Sciences. So it's brought all of us together, and we've gotten to know a lot about each other's families, the trials, the positive points, the things that exhaust us as mothers, the things that we are so excited about, we share with each other on a consistent basis. And I just wanted to hand the mic over to Hannah so that she can talk about how Q Sciences and the family portion of the 5 F's has impacted her and how it's changed her family.
Thank you, Corey. Wow, it's so good to be here. I love you guys. You're amazing. I'm trying to figure out if I've been on a podcast before. Once, kind of by accident, but thanks for having me. It truly is a real honor, actually. I feel very blessed that you've invited me to come and talk about this F particularly, because I would say it's the closest to my heart on pretty much every level that there could be. So hi, everyone who doesn't know me. My name is Hannah. I am originally from the UK. I live in Canada. I have been building with Q Sciences for just over 2 years. I have 3 children who are incredible, and a husband who I adore, and an aged dog. And I'm pretty busy. I work full-time in mental health and addictions. Family and the community that comes with treating people like family, that safety, that trust, is quite possibly my number one focus in every aspect of my life. I credit the success of using products from Q with an increased marital relationship, a better relationship within my marriage, improved mental health, improved communication, all of that stuff, hormone balancing, reducing the rage factor, like all of that stuff. So from a very rudimentary level, Q products have made a huge difference in our lives. Being part of the community of Q Sciences and being able to be as close as I have been with the founders and the owners, really enabled me to kind of deep dive into my own understanding of what family was. I am encouraged to always bring my husband whenever he can possibly come to any kind of event. You know, it's never a question that he's invited. I've definitely involved my kids in what we do. Those who are in Calgary actually saw my little 11-year-old come up on the stage and give his own little product testimony. So and they know what I do, right? And so they know, oh, mummy's doing a call. So they understand it, and they love it, and they love it all. And they know that you guys are my second family, right? They know that. You know, even Ryan this morning when we were on our morning meeting, he's like, oh, you're talking to people. Okay, I'll go. I love you. I'll see you later. You know, like it's yeah. So family is really important, and I'm just so grateful you invited me. So thank you for having me.
So I'm really curious because I've watched a transformation in you and your family for the last year and a half that I've been a part of Q, and really gotten to know you. And Hannah always tells me the one thing. She's like, Q or no Q, you're always going to be my family. Q or no Q, it does not matter. You will always be my family. And I know that to be true to my heart. I've been in other companies where I've thought that, you know, and then I left and I don't hear or see those people anymore. But if I haven't heard from Hannah in like a week, I'm like, why? Like, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I know you're busy, but I'm important. Like, talk to me. Like,
can I just say that works both ways? Because I will also message Corey and be like, did you not see my message? Like,
exactly. But it's amazing to watch. And I'm just going to be blunt here, because it's happened with me as well. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But I've watched your relationship with your husband grow from where you were when I started this business to where you are now. And I factor that not only with the products, but the influence of the leadership that we have here and the owners of Q Sciences. Family is a very, very important to them, and they bring that forward in every single thing that they do. And it's very evident. And it's happened in my own family and my own mindset about how I treat my family and how I feel and think about my family as well. So I think that's really exciting.
Well, and when you guys joined, it was the fall. If I remember rightly, Ryan had just joined the King's Gauntlet, like within weeks of you joining. And for people listening that don't know, our owner, Jake Spencer, and his wife, they're co-owners with our CEO and founder. They're not quiet about the fact that they've had their fair share of struggles as a family and as a couple. And Jake has always been very passionate about empowering the people that support you behind the business, right? So they may not be up there on stage with you, they may not be collecting all the big trophies with you, but they're the ones holding down the fort when you're busy. They're the ones feeding the kids when you're on calls, you know, that kind of stuff. So he came up with the idea of this thing called the King's Gauntlet, which was for the men of Q. Now, it was the men that are actively involved, but also those husbands, brothers, even fathers that are supporting from behind the scenes. And each week they got specialized training from counselors, from marriage advisors, from psychologists, from recovery professionals. They deep dived into addictions, like all these different things. And I swear I had this one husband went in one end of it, and I was trying to figure out ways that I could divorce him without having to speak to him, you know, like I was trying to figure out ways where it was awful, like it was awful. And we were just making some money and it should have been better. And our relationship just wasn't better. He just started the products, but we hadn't found the right mix. And then I feel like 12 weeks later at Christmas, he came out of that King's Gauntlet like a different man. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I came home and he was on a Zoom call and he'd gone downstairs and he had his headphones on, and I could hear him talking. I was very conscious of not, you know, interrupting his privacy. So I went in my room and shut the door, and then he came in afterwards, and I said, "Will you share?" Like, because I'd heard him talking, I said, "Were you sharing, not just listening?" He said, "Well, I just told them I never really felt so surrounded by such a group of people before," and I was bawling, because if you've had addictions, if you've had issues, if you were the bad boy, if you were, the bad boy who's trying to be a good man, and all your friends are still off the rails, and the ones that aren't still look down on you for the stuff you did 20 years ago. Jake Spencer had this way of making these men feel seen and heard. And by him inviting Ryan into his family, that family, they still have a chat. I'm not allowed to see it. They still have it. Like, it really gave Ryan okay, Q isn't just for Hannah. There's something here for me as well.
Wow, that's incredible. That gave me goosebumps, because a lot of the times we hear people joining companies, or even just any other company, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a network company. Any of our work, I used to teach for many years. Our husbands are usually never involved in that, right? They kind of go, well, you go to work, and we do the same to them, right? My husband worked for a company for 25 years. We were never involved. When you really bring the work, the family, all that kind of together, and really create a neutral environment and support, that's that just says a lot.
Yeah, it's been life-changing for us, for sure. And Jake, one of the things he's very passionate about is erasing that narrative of retiring your husband.
Right.
Now, if your husband wants to retire, or is at the age he wants to retire, and you can make enough income to do that, great. But why, as women, the second we're earning enough money to pay bills and keep the household, are we trying to bring the husbands home to be nannies? Is exactly how he puts it, right? And I've always been so like, that's so true, because I've been in previous projects where I was able to retire my husband, and these men just look miserable. Like, so many men get their value from what they earn, what they bring in, and their working life, and that's where the social life is too.
Well, my husband would never allow me to retire him, even after he retired.
Mine neither.
I think it's important that it's not about retiring our husbands. It's about giving them the freedom of time, right? The freedom of time to do whatever they like to do. I mean, my husband's very he's not an outdoorsy person, but he loves to be outdoors building, and he never has time for that, right? So if I can, that's one of my goals, not to retire him. He'll still do his work, because he just loves it, right? He'll continue to work, and he actually keeps telling everybody, I'll never retire. I don't want to sit on the couch and watch TV all day, right? But if he can have the flexibility of going out and doing what he wants and what he loves, and really filling his cup, because he doesn't have to work to provide for the family, because there's bills to pay, and that's incredible. I think that's how people should really look at it. When you make it big in a company, it's not to bring your husband home so you can take care of the things while you're busy.
Yeah, I agree too, and that is like my ultimate goal is I want to spend as much time with my family as I can. I mean, the boys are 6. I only have 12 years left with them till they're 18. I mean, when you start looking at it that way, and same thing, like my husband, he would never let me retire him, but he's not going to argue if I say, hey, we're going to Italy for a week, And so just to be able to provide different things, and for me to have the option to bring my kids home from school. So, talking the business and family, Hannah, I would like to know how this has impacted your kids, being a mom of younger kids, how it has affected your kids, and what it has allowed you to be able to do with your kids.
I think so like anything, there's positive and negative sides, right? The positive sides are we get to travel. Every time I go and do an event, you know, we just came back from Saskatoon in January. We went, you know, when we go to Calgary, I bring the kids. When we do stuff in Edmonton, I bring the kids. But more than that, you know, the kids have met Mark and Jake at the big events, you know, like they've got to see them, and they've got to see the world and Phoenix and so many different things. So from a financial and freedom perspective, that's what it's given us, the ability to travel together, and especially travel under the guise of a business trip, right? That means, you know, although it's not dollar for dollar, certain things I can claim back, certain things I can claim through my taxes, that kind of stuff. There's definitely a negative in day-to-day of actually, I wouldn't even say it was negative. I have to be really firm with my boundaries. And really only in the last 6 to 9 months have I been comfortable to say, I don't work on Sundays. You can message me individually, and I might have, you know, pick my phone up and answer it just like I would any other text message. I'm not going to be deep diving in the chats. I'm certainly not going to be locked in my office on calls. In the evenings, I pick and choose which evenings I'm going to work, because I also, you know, with the kids at school and my work week. So actually, I guess it's probably kind of a positive too. But in order to not have them be upset that time with me has been taken away, I make sure to make the most of the time we have together. I think I'm a way funner mum now. Like, you know, when I didn't used to do much in the evenings and stuff, it would be TV. Like now I'll be like, let's go do this and let's go, because I want to make the most of that time. So I feel like we do more now that I'm busier than we did when I wasn't so busy, if that makes sense.
That's true. I remember that my kids are older now, so it's a little, I'm trying to beg them for their time. But it is true, when you're busier, you know, you kind of make up for that time that you want to spend with your kids. And I think you have a little bit more motivation as well, right? To, you know, make up and really enjoy and have the money to really just not worry about things, right? A lot of people, I think over the last 2 years, they've realized, because things have slowed down, right? I mean, whatever happened in the last 2 years kind of made people slow down. And it was amazing to see how many families were actually connecting on a deeper level, right? So that connection, I noticed that it's been kind of continual, right? It's created, as much as maybe there's always a positive that comes from a negative, right? So sometimes people say, you know, it's like doomsday, right? What are we going to do now? But really, when you look at the quality of time that you put in with your family and not think about what's tomorrow hasn't come yet, and yesterday is gone. The only day you can enjoy is today, and really make it fulfilling, right? So especially when the kids are young, I think it's important to really sit down and think about that moment. I always told my kids experiences. That's one thing. Like even now, they're like, "Mom, what do you want for your birthday?" I'm like, "An experience." And they're like, "I don't know what you mean."
Yeah. So, and you know what? I would challenge anyone to say, in any other career, any other job, even any other network marketing company, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, that we are so encouraged to every single day remember our why. Every single day. We've all heard the know your why is going to make you cry. My kids don't make me cry. They're amazing. And when things get tough, we get overwhelmed. We're humans. That's what happens. There is always someone to remind me to turn my phone off, go hang out with my kids, because they know that they fill my bucket, and they'll talk to me the next day. And I'm not just talking about you guys, because you guys do that for me too, but I'm talking about people that benefit from me working, that are immediately, above me or corporate. They will all tell you the same thing. Put your phone away, go hang out with your kids. That's why you're doing this.
And you know what's really interesting, Hannah, you talking about your boundaries made me think about one thing that I absolutely love is that you take Sundays off. I copied you on that. I take Sundays off too. I'm like, I'm not available on Sundays.
Not everybody
loves
it.
One thing that our family has done, and I'm not kidding when I tell you we've done this since my kids were in high chairs, is we eat at the dinner table.
We do.
We eat dinner at the dinner table with no phones. And it is, I personally think it makes a difference in a family when you can sit and converse around a dinner table and have that hour, half an hour, whatever of time to just be present in each other's lives. Like that is one thing. And I'm just curious. I mean, I know that you take Sundays off, and I'm curious, what else you ladies do to just kind of keep that family unit. You know what I mean? Keep that that center.
Well, for me, I mean, that's usually, I have my grandkids here a lot with me, but that Sunday is usually a day that we kind of do things like they'll come outside with me. We do all the things. The other thing I want to mention is even, my husband and I are empty nesters, but we still sit at our table and eat. We have always done that. I don't know if that's old school, or I remember when my daughter was a teenager and she had a boyfriend, nice kid, and he come and he said they didn't do that. He said he had never they only sat at the table on special occasions like Christmas dinner, Easter dinner, all those things, Thanksgiving. And he thought it was strange that we sat at the table all the time. And you're right, Corey, it makes a huge difference because that's when you do a lot of your talking. And when cell phones first come out, my husband didn't allow my kids to sit anywhere with their cell phones. He just didn't. It's funny because he spends a lot of time on his now, but that's Corey's laughing because before we jumped on here, I was actually telling them about my husband not actually knowing how to turn the oven on. So I don't know if that's what she was laughing, but Hannah, when you were speaking, you talked about feeling good, and it occurred to me that is one thing that is better with my relationship with my husband is because we both feel better. I didn't even get that. And I mean, my husband was in a serious motorcycle accident, spent 30 days in the hospital. And I know without a doubt in my mind that Q Science's supplements helped his recovery tenfold. And even now, I mean, I never expected him to go to work this winter with our trucking company, and he went all winter. He just come home the other day. But I think about it now when we sit down, and even in the evening, we just feel better. Both of us, we feel better. So
physical health has such an impact on your mental health. And then your mental health has an impact on how you talk to people and interact with people. And right, if I am having a low day, I'm not perfect. I have low days. I make it worse if I go sit in my room and eat in my room and do everything in my room. I make it better if I sit at the dinner table with the kids. And we always do this thing where we say, what was the best part of your day? What was the worst part of your day? And what was the funniest part of your day? And you're not allowed to pass. It can be the smallest thing, coming home, seeing my friends at school, whatever. But the funniest part of the day is the one that usually gets the conversation going, right? And it always starts with Lola. I've had days where I've isolated myself. And then days where we do that, we sit down at the table and you're around everyone, and the other stuff can kind of just go away, right?
But yeah, having healthy bodies, healthy minds is huge on the relationship of the whole entire family. Even with my grandkids not having colds half the winter, this all just is occurring to me at this call, like all of this stuff. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Where you're not struggling Kayleen's not struggling with the little people. And yeah, health is huge.
Sleep is another one, right? Like, I mean, a lot of us, how many of us actually get a full night's sleep? well, I can now say me. Right? And it's interesting, right? Like, because I used to sometimes, especially when I was working full time, 3-4 hours a night was a typical night for me. And not like, 3 hours and I'm up. It was just
I'd die. I would
My
die.
husband, same thing, 5 hours a night, and that was it.
Joanne has, maybe you tell us a little about that, Joanne, because Joanne, when I first met Joanne a year and a half ago, I wonder how she functioned because she never slept.
You know,
Like,
Oh,
what the heck,
I
right?
100% agree with that. I mean, she
And
all nights, all
now,
hours of the night.
right? And now she said that she thinks that that's just, I don't know. Go ahead, tell us, Joey. She sleeps more now. It's brilliant.
So it was kind of a little bit of an aha moment here a couple months ago that I figured it out. I was seeing a functional medicine doctor a couple of years ago, and like I used to stay up, like the girls say, I used to stay up till 2-3 in the morning, get up at 6:30.
I would
work,
die.
right? And I would do this day after day after day after day, week
All
after
the
week after
time.
week after week. All my people, my tribe used to tell me I needed more sleep. And I said, but by 10, 11 o'clock, I'm more productive. I'm more creative. I'm more awake. I'm more everything. And I want to enjoy this, right? I want to actually feel all of this energy going through me. And the functional medicine doctor explained to me that it was I think it's a hormone in my body that was screwed up. Right? Instead of me going down, and it was ramping me up. And I thought about this a couple months ago. I'd been on Q Core since last September. So that's like a year ago, September. So it was about 14 months I'd been on Q Core. And I went, I can't freaking make it past midnight anymore without being, falling asleep in my chair and I'm like, holy crap, I think this thing has actually leveled me out. So now I'm getting more sleep, which is better for me physically. I'm probably a happier person during the day because I'm getting more sleep. Which makes it all around, my work family, my home family. We're empty nesters too. And our kids, our grandchild is actually 4.5 hours away from here. So we spend a lot of time. The one thing I'm really grateful for social media for is being able to spend FaceTime with him quite often. But just the whole, it just happened. It wasn't like this big for me. For others, I've heard other stories that, things have been fairly quick. But for me, it kind of snuck up on me. And then I went, oh, wait a minute. And it was actually a conversation with these ladies that kind of got me thinking. And I'm like, I think this thing is straightened me out after, well, I'm just about 57 years old. And that's pretty much been my life
But you still stay.
So what time do you go to bed now?
About midnight.
Oh my God.
And what? Midnight to 6 is a heck of a lot different to 2 or 3 to 6.
It is. It's a huge amount, but I'd still die.
Yeah, it's still not enough.
Oh, I mean, I put my kids to bed at 8:30, and then I'm in bed and like asleep by like 9:30. I want to know how much sleep Krista gets because she has the youngest kids.
Well, I used to have the bad habit like Joanne, but I have been trying, and I've been trying the brew too to help with like the adrenal support. But I usually, so before I started following a schedule, which was the first 4 years of their life before they started school, they stayed up as long as they wanted and slept in. It was just kind of like a family thing or a mom and kid thing. But now that they've been on a schedule, they go to bed like around 7:30. And I mean, Dusty and I are usually in bed like by 10, might watch the news, but in between 9:30 and 10. So I've improved a lot in the last year. And I feel like Joanne said, I feel like the Q core really does help because that is the only thing that I've added the last year that makes me feel like I am rested and clear headed the next morning. And I don't have to set the snooze for, an hour. I'm trying to get up a little bit earlier now. So that's a struggle each morning, but I'm trying to get myself a little bit more balanced in the morning. So maybe it's a little bit more balanced for the boys too and not so chaotic. So I just try to make it a happy life here, happy family. And
All of
I
these
do all
habits,
this for the boys.
all of these habits have one thing in common. Q. Every single one of us have said, oh, I started doing this when I started Q. Oh, I started doing this because of this. Oh, I changed this because of this. And every single one of us has that letter Q. That just blows my mind. I was like, how? I mean, I've always had a really tight, close-knit family. My boys and my daughter and my husband have always been really important to me, but they were really important to me, right? And I love them with my whole entire heart and soul. But up until a couple of years ago, we were probably one of the most dysfunctional families that you had ever seen.
Us too. Yeah.
And I mean, it's crazy how the influence of the right people and the right supplements and the right food and the right habits. I'm going to throw that and being a slave to the right habits change your whole entire world. And we were doing all of that without even realizing that we were doing all of that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
One thing I want to say super quick, because it just came to me like brain, just like Carrie said that thing about the health coming. You love your family kind of unconditionally, right? And every other friendship group I've had or have, I feel like there's conditions. Not as close to my UK group that I don't live there anymore. I'm not as close to friends I've met in previous employment or previous jobs. Because we are wholeheartedly encouraged here to be imperfect, our little band of misfits, as they call us, that's why we love each other unconditionally. I think that's why it's like family, because we don't all fit in the same box. We're not all, 6 foot blondes with, well, Krista's a 6 foot blonde, but like, no, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? We don't all look the same. There's no mold.
There's always got to be one 6 foot blonde in every group.
I mean, you gotta have one. You just can't all be 6 foot blondes, is what I'm saying. You know what I mean, though. Like, I feel like because we're so encouraged to be ourselves, we actually genuinely love each other and like each other. And anyone that doesn't necessarily or isn't able to be themselves are usually the ones that fall more by the wayside. And so that makes our group and our family here at Q super authentic. And I'm really grateful for that.
Well, and I think having this family gives us the confidence and just that feeling of being accepted the way we are, so that when we do have to deal with the family that we have by blood, we can't exchange them at all, right? It just helps our mental well-being to help deal with the issues that we sometimes do get with our families, or because of our families, or with our families.
I tell you ladies more than I tell any of my other friendship groups. And I know you guys share too.
I feel the same. Yeah. And there's a shared trust because we are so different, right?
I got kicked out of all of them.
Well, you're accepted here.
Friendship groups.
I got kicked out of my friendship groups for being myself.
I was gonna say, because you're too healthy. What? Like,
I don't know.
But that's what makes us different, right? And like you said, little band of misfits, and not to say that in a negative way or anything like that. It's just everyone's accepted here, not judged. We all have experiences, we all have things that we've gone through in our lives, and we don't pretend to have this perfect Instagram life that people often show. Most of all my troubles and things, and we rely on each other, right? And it's you guys are all my family.
We're the chosen family. That's how I look at it.
We chose each other, right? There you go. Love it.
So I think
Shove it.
we're gonna wrap it up. It's that time. So if anybody out there wants to be a part of our family, we encourage you to get together with us. Remember, we have the We Rise Together Facebook group, and everybody's welcome in there. So search us up on Facebook. And what's our topic for next week, ladies? We didn't discuss that. So why don't we do another F?
I think we're celebrating, aren't we? Our 10th episode.
Oh, that's right, Corey. We are. So you know what? It's going to be a surprise. It's a surprise celebration. So yeah, stay tuned for the next week. And remember, we rise together. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. We are so grateful you joined us as we discuss our experiences on our life's paths. Our vision, no matter where you are in your life path, is to add value to your life by sharing ours. You can find more incredible resources in our We Rise Together Facebook group. We'll leave the link posted in the show notes at the bottom. And until next time, we appreciate you, and remember, we rise together.